The broken chord that you're going to use for the left hand is you're going to play the root, and after that you're going to play 2 notes of the chord, and you decide which based on the sound and based on what you have on the right hand. So for instance, that first measure, there's a D. That's the third of B flat, right? So in theory, you don't need to use that on the left hand. So you can go to the 5 and 7. So that's a broken chord. The next measure, if you use broken chord again, see the E flat is already on the melody. So you're gonna need the flat third and the 7. So let's say that I was gonna do broken chord for the entire first line. Check it out, it would sound like this. So that's one tool. Second tool, you can have on the left hand the open arpeggio. Remember open arpeggio? Open arpeggio, you take the triad, take the middle note out and play it an octave higher. And then you play 1 note at a time with the left hand, open arpeggio. Open arpeggio takes care of root, 3, and 5, but it doesn't take care of 7ths. So when you do that, you're going to need to add the 7th on the right hand under the melody. So for instance, let's say that I do down measure 5, the melody is a D. I'm going to add the major 7 and the left hand is going to do an open arpeggio. Make sense? Number 3, another tool that we worked on already, and we actually just did with Mercy Mercy, is you can play on the left hand, for instance, root 7. And the right hand picks up the middle of the chord. So here in measure 9, for instance, if you went with root 7, it would sound like this. Right? You're taking the root 7 on the left, 3, 5 on the right. And one more tool that we already used, also on Mercy Mercy, is like sometimes you could have the entire, just the root of the chord on the left. Let's say E flat major 7, and the rest of the chord entirely on the right hand. So for instance, on measure 23, there's a E flat 7. So here could be my root, 3, 5, 7. The melody is an F, so I'm gonna add that there. Make sense? Now I'm going to give you 2 more tools that we haven't really talked about. When you see the F sus on page 40, there's a little bit of a guide of how to deal with dominant sus 4s. And basically I'll explain to you what's there on page 40, but you can write down page 40 there if it helps for you to find it later. Anytime you see dominant chord sus 4, one way of building it is you can have the F is the root, and then what is a whole step below the root?
It's E flat.
E flat. So if you play an E flat major triad above it, you end up with a pretty cool sounding sus chord. So here's the root, 7, 9, 4. And that's what's on page 40. And then you add the melody, let's see, with the D. So right next to that F sus 4, just make a tiny note, page 40. That's how you're going to approach that one. Another thing, and here's the last little bit. There are some voicings that we haven't worked on yet that we're going to start working on very thoroughly on Tuesday, that are from page 50 to 54. And these voicings are of what we call fourth stacks. And fourth stacks, sometimes they work for a voicing, sometimes they don't. But for instance, let's say that I'm gonna go to that, again, measure 23. What is that top note on measure 23? F. A fourth stack means that you would build a series of fourths starting on the F going down. So what is the fourth from F down? What is a fourth below F?
C.
C. And a fourth below C?
G.
And a fourth below G? So check it out right there. If I play the root on the left and this fourth stack on the top, I end up with the F is the 9th, C is the 13th, G is the 3rd, and this guy is the 7th. Sometimes you can do that and harmonize entire melodies. So for instance, measure 18, we have a E flat, F, and B flat, right? I'm going to go for measure 17. So check it out. Here is measure 17. And now I'm going to do fourth stacks for everything on measure 18. And then maybe I'll do an arpeggio. And I could even do it. So those are the tools that we're going to use, and there are a couple possibilities that we might also do some reharmonizations. But if you wanted to get a head start on this weekend, think about all those tools. I'm going to pull this